If you're looking for the right shoes to wear when you're driving 200 miles an hour, have I got news for you, especially if you're doing that 200 miles an hour without leaving your living room. We're going to talk about that on today's episode of the Movement, the podcast for people who want to know the truth about what it takes to have a happy, healthy, strong body starting feet first. You know, those things at the end of your legs that are the foundation for everything you do. We also break down the propaganda, the mythology, and sometimes the flat out lies you've been told about what it takes to run, walk, hike, play, do yoga, lift, anything you can think of, and to do that enjoyably, effectively, efficiently. Did I say enjoyably? Don't answer that. I know I did because I say it all the time. Because look, if you're not having a good time, you're not going to keep up whatever it is you're doing. So find something you enjoy. We're going to talk about that today. I'm Stephen Sashen, co-founder, chief barefoot officer here at Zero Shoes, and we call this the movement because we, including you, more about that in a second, no obligation, no cost. We are creating a movement about natural movement, letting your body do what it's made to do without getting in the way and causing problems, and then claiming that you're actually providing cures for the thing that you just created. So here's the we part. It's really simple. Spread the word. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a 5-star review. Hit the bell icon on YouTube to hear about new episodes. Go to our website, www.jointhemovementmovement.com. Nothing you need to do to join. There's no cost. It's just, that's the domain I got. But you'll find all the previous episodes, of which there are quite a few. You'll find all the ways you can find us on social media and how you can find the podcast in somewhere other than where you found it now if you're not crazy about the place where you found it now. So, all of that said, let's get started. Brian McRae, tell people who you are and what you're doing here and how it is that you can go so fast in such a tiny little space.
Well, it's going fast in the office, so it's a little bit different. I am a professional sim racer. And for those of you that don't know, that's kind of like playing Gran Turismo on your TV, but on steroids. We have racing team class simulator equipment and gear in our offices, and it has the fidelity of, say, a flight simulator training scenario. This is something that real race teams use to train, and those of us that can't afford or get to a racetrack use them in real life to actually race other people. And so it's something that we do at a very high level, something we enjoy. We treat it like racing. It's just another discipline for us. So we go 200 miles an hour, but we're standing still the whole time.
Well, it occurs to me, how many people have gone, I mean, how many professional racers use sim for training? And the really fun question, how many sim racers have actually gotten in a car on a real track? And what's that experience like?
That's a fantastic question. And just about every
Why?
racing driver
Why,
uses
thank you.
just about every racing driver uses simulations. They all do. Every professional race team has simulators. All the manufacturers have simulators. So simulators have always been a part of racing. Now, your second question is how many sim drivers have gone on to real racing? Well, there's a story. There's actually a movie made about this kid who won the PlayStation Academy, the Gran Turismo PlayStation Academy, went on to run the 24 Hours of Le Mans. This is way back in the early 2000s. Since then, there have been several NASCAR drivers. Majeski's one who have made the leap to real racing. William Byron, who has won several NASCAR races at the Cup level, started as a sim racer too. So it's become both a training ground, but what the reason that it's such a training ground is that it evens the playing field. It makes racing accessible because if you can race in the sim, odds are you can probably race in real life. And so it's made racing something that's not very accessible to any of us. It's made it accessible to all of us.
Well, my question, especially going from sim to a real car, is so I, way back when, was doing a bunch of day trading, did okay. I have a friend who's still doing that. And of course, one of the things you try and do when you're trading a system is you want to test your system, and you can test it in real time with simulated trading. And then you put some money on the table, and everything changes. Even if it's a small amount of money, whole different game. So I'm curious, it would be fascinating to talk to someone who's made that transition from sim to real about, what the difference is when you know that if things go wrong, you don't just fall out of your chair. It can go bad. And I have to tell you, I'll tell you a funny, or not funny, very interesting story about someone who didn't go from sim to real, but my only racing story, but I'll tell you that in a second. But
I can tell
yeah,
you with certainty that I've actually raced my car at the Circuit of the Americas. That's a world-class Formula One racetrack here in Austin, and I've raced that track in the sim, thousands and thousands of laps. And I can tell you in no uncertain terms that the feel of the car. Now, granted, we can only interact with the pedals, interact with the steering wheel, and interact visually. So we don't have the tactile, we don't have the G forces, the noise, the smell, all the things that makes real racing fantastic. So we have to rely on the inputs that we do have but those inputs translate directly. I mean, directly to the way that a car behaves. So I can actually tell you a real story about a time I was at the racetrack and I saw a race car make a mistake in a corner. I saw exactly how the car behaved and how the car spun off the track. And I knew exactly what that driver had done because I had made the same mistake in the sim at least 100 times. So
That's
there's a
interesting.
direct correlation. It's uncanny how much a high fidelity simulation can increase your overall ability to drive a regular race car.
But now let me say, I'm going to reframe this in a little way. In the same way that people, when they talk to Lena and I about starting Zero Shoes and being entrepreneurs, they say something about our ability to tolerate risk. And I go, no, I don't think you understand. We don't perceive this as in any way risky. It just never occurs to me that this is risky. I mean, yes, I could end up bankrupt. I could be, catching fish in Baja, and that's the way I survive, which is, I mean, I have this entrepreneurial failure fantasy, which if everything just went, completely to crap, I would make sandwiches at Quiznos, and then I'd show up at a high school reunion, and people would say, "What do you do?" And I go, "Oh, Quiznos." And they're going, "Oh, so you own franchises?" No, they're letting me cut the bread now. So I don't have my identity too tied up with anything that I do. But so I wonder for anyone who's making the transition from sim racing to real racing, if it's a similar thing, that the idea of the difference in genuine risk is just not even something that pops into one's mind, or if it's there and then you learn to deal with that and what that process is like.
That's, I think, probably one of the biggest differences. And I felt that. I had a very, I mean, it was a track day at Kodo. So it wasn't a public sanctioned race. It wasn't an actual race on an actual, race car that I was getting paid to drive.
Yeah.
But it's dangerous. Racing at any level is very
Yeah.
dangerous. It's very inconvenient. It's very expensive. And so all that, and it's extraordinarily risky. And so, yes, it absolutely affects the way that you drive on a racetrack. And that's one of the things I don't have to worry about because I can just hit the brake, right?
Well, it is interesting. I mean, I do know just from listening to a few people that I know who are really into racing, especially F1, is that while it is risky and dangerous, way less so now than it was 10, 20 years ago. I mean, holy
Absolutely.
smokes. And so much of that is just technology, which brings me to my one story. But then we're going to talk about why we're talking on my podcast about sim racing. I have a friend who was one of the first people developing a real-time biometric sensing device. It was a Palm Pilot with a neoprene vest that had a whole bunch of sensors in it. And so they were getting real-time data about what was happening with your breathing and your heart rate and a bunch of other things. And so they had fighter pilots wearing this thing and a bunch of people doing very interesting activities. And one was a racer. I don't remember what type of racing. I don't remember if it was F1 or probably NASCAR, but don't hold me to it. Either way, they're looking at the monitor and looking at all of the guys' biometrics, and it's all very interesting. And suddenly everything just got really slow. Heart rate went down, breathing went down, like really slow. And they're tapping the machine, they're checking the connectors. Then they look up and they see the guy's car rolling bad. And when they got him out of the car, they said, "We were a little shocked. I mean, we just watched all your vitals slow down." He goes, "Yeah, once the car starts rolling, there's nothing I can do but wait." Oh my
It's so
God.
true. The
I mean,
fundamental truth behind that. Yeah, it's true. And you'll see
yeah.
them tuck under, they'll take their hands off the wheel and pull it. That's all you can do is just sit there and wait for the hit. I don't have to worry about that. It's a very real difference.
It's fascinating. It's like the times where I have admittedly accidentally stopped on ESPN when there's motorcycle racing and you watch someone wipe out on a motorcycle at 150 miles an hour and they just, skid for 100 meters and then stand up like nothing happens. Like, oh my God. Yeah, it
but
is
so
crazy.
the big question this that we have to add that I have to ask here is
Yeah.
what if you could deliver say 75% of the fidelity of being at the racetrack. So you're not all the way there, but you're pretty much there. And what if the simulation's fidelity was enough such that you could trick your brain that you were really on the track? And this happens. This happens because our brains, as you know, don't know the
Oh, yeah,
difference
yeah.
between simulation and reality. So while I may not have the perceived risk, I can guarantee you that there have been times when I have been in my digital race car and my brain thinks I'm on an actual racetrack and I have to kind of come back to reality a little bit. That's how good the
Well,
fidelity of these simulations has gotten.
well, that raises a question, an interesting one for me is so I've been in like, those 3D fake roller coasters, for example. And I like roller coasters in general. Those things nauseate me like there's no tomorrow. So, I mean, have you found yourself at any time getting that sort of physical effect?
Absolutely, especially when I first started. Like for example, I do a lot of NASCAR racing and do a lot of NASCAR racing at Daytona and Talladega. Those are drafting tracks where you're literally racing 2 inches up from the car in front of you. There's another car 2 inches behind you. The first time you do that, it is terrifying, absolutely terrifying. And even though I'm on a digital car and a digital racetrack, I'm scared to death I'm going to wreck. It is just your brain can't tell the difference. Yeah, so it's something. One of my early teammates, he put it very succinctly. He says you have to get yourself to where you're comfortable feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
you
that's
just have to get
interesting.
to that point where you're comfortable in this really uncomfortable place.
Well, I would imagine that, I mean, one statistic, and I don't actually have the statistic, one thing that I know, you can give me the statistic if you know it, that is related to that. I mean, that kind of being uncomfortable, you're still having all of the tension and stress responses going on, which tell me how many pounds does a racer lose during an actual race?
During an actual race, these guys are pro athletes.
Yeah.
They're putting heart rate monitors in the cars, and their heart rates are like 160, 170, and it's 110 degrees in the car, and they're wearing a full fire suit. I mean, these guys are going flat out the whole time. So they're at, but even in my air conditioned office, after an hour and a half of a race, I'm drenched in sweat. My heart rate's going 130. It's like it's exercise, so it's just a different kind of exercise. The
What a
intensity is off
trip.
the charts.
What a trip. Well, for people who don't grasp how real it can be, I don't know if there's anything to search for on this, but my favorite sort of augmented reality or not even virtual, it's hard to explain, experiment was they have somebody put on a whole VR headset, and what they're seeing in front of them is an avatar of themselves. So when they move, it moves. And what the researcher will do is simultaneously stroke someone's back with like a little stick while they're seeing the fake version, the cartoon version of themselves in front of them getting stroked with a stick. And after a few minutes of doing this, they'll do something shocking to the avatar, and the person feels it in their own body. Like you
That's right.
literally, your brain makes you start thinking you are that thing outside of you. Which, if you think about, I'm not a guy, I haven't done hallucinogens, but you hear certain stories, and then suddenly it's like, oh, your brain has this weird ability to when you look for where am I, it might point to places that aren't pointing towards your chest or your head.
I had an experience like that. This was very specific. I was racing. This was a NASCAR race at Kansas. Kansas Speedway is a 1.5 mile an hour oval. It was nighttime. It was a night, gorgeous. I love
Wait,
racing.
one point, you said 1.5.
One and a half mile oval. So sorry, it's just an oval, a normal oval racetrack. So nothing
Got it.
particularly special about it. But this particular night, I can't tell you exactly why. About halfway through the race, Stephen, I swear to God, I thought I was on a real racetrack. I thought that I was there. I thought that I was in the crowd. I really, really believed that I was on that racetrack. And I had to reel myself back in. I really had to, like, wait a minute, hold on a second, pattern interrupt. You're sitting in an office. It was that real for me. And there have been several times when I've gotten close to that, but nothing ever came close to that. It was like my brain forgot completely that I was in an office and thought I was in a race car on a racetrack. It was uncanny. I'll never forget it.
The closest thing I can come to that is when I was, let's see. So I went to film school. I got a degree in film from Columbia, and simultaneously, at the request and advice of one of our teachers, who was a very well-known actor, who said I should be taking acting classes as well. During this one acting class improv exercise, I'll do the shortest version of the story possible. I was at a moment. So I have to give a little preface. This exercise, you have a partner and you establish a relationship. And so we established that she was my roommate's best girlfriend when we were in college. She was living in New York. I had moved away. And you give each other just enough information so they have a context, but then your job is to make up some other story. And one of the characters walks in the door with this other story. And, they start the scene. I think the exercise is called, there's a knock at the door. At one moment, this is where I'm abbreviating dramatically. My brain went, you have two choices now. You know this is fake, or you can go for the ride. And I decided to go for the ride. And where the ride was is I had made up the story that she had always that I had always been in love with her husband. My roommate had always told me if it weren't for him, she'd be with me. I bumped into him at a bar in Chicago, and he told me that again, and I killed him. It gets better when I realized things were kind of weird and awkward, and I, made some comment like, well, Bob always told me that if it weren't for him, you'd be with me. She goes, yeah, but I used to say that just to get rid of you. I never liked you. And in that moment, when I, quote, realized that I had just killed someone by accident, my brain exploded. And for the next 10 minutes, I felt like I had just made the biggest mistake in the world by killing someone at all, let alone for the wrong reason. It was the most, I mean, and I was having emotions and movements and everything that were, an out of Steven experience. Never anything like it before or since. And it was in a weird way, the most freeing thing I ever had because it had nothing to do with the familiar parts of me. It was so wacky for everyone involved that for the next 3 weeks, no one in my class spoke to me.
But that's the point of improv. I mean, you
Well,
brought up something that was
just like
so
you're just gonna,
mental,
yeah,
right?
you're just gonna
And you
go.
owned it. You just went with it. Like that's what you're
Yeah.
supposed to do.
Yeah, you're open to whatever happens and you just go. Now, I don't know. I know lots of actors who say they've had that experience or something similar, but 90% of the time it doesn't happen. But like when that does happen, that's what makes you come back. That's what makes you go, I got to do this again.
That actually speaks to something that we take this, like my teammates and then my league mates, we take this very seriously.
Yeah.
We are, our cars are painted. We've got liveries. We've got sponsors. We treat our cars like real race cars. Like we try to race like real racers. Like we do everything that we can possibly do to make the experience as authentic as possible, even down to when the race is over. We cross the finish line and we drive all the way back around the racetrack and back onto pit road as if it were a real race car. Now, it sounds ridiculous, but the idea is that, first of all, the more that you contribute to the realism and the fidelity of the simulation, the more real it gets and the more visceral it becomes. Now, that effect gets amplified when those that are racing around you do the same thing. Because
Yeah.
now you have a community of people that are dedicated to realism, dedicated to truth, dedicated to fidelity. And Stephen, it's that same experience, that same level of emotion, that depth. It's the same experience because the environment becomes so rich. And this is why we do it 3 nights a week, is because we have this collective of people who race this way, and that contributes to the realism more than any technology, more than any graphics, more than anything else. It's the community around us. It's uncanny. That's actually reminds me very much of improv. It's very similar.
I'm now dying to know who's driving like a sim F1 car and in real life they've got a Ford Focus.
Well, I drive a Toyota Camry in real life, so that's me right here.
Got it. Okay, now I got to tell you, I mean, I do have one friend who's also a sim racer, and we rarely talk about it. He's another entrepreneur and has been too busy and a little stressed out. I do want to ask you later about what it costs to get involved and to do this, but let's cut to the chase. The reason we're having this conversation is you reached out to me a little while ago and said something that has to do with what I do related to what you do. Shall you tell that story?
I would love to. It starts very simply, Stephen. That's you by accident made the perfect sim racing shoe. And what I mean by that is, we like race car drivers. There are purpose-built shoes for racing. There are
Right.
driving shoes that are built to do that.
Well,
Now,
wait, I'm gonna pause there. We've had a number of NASCAR drivers reach out to us who wear our stuff when they're training, like in the gym. I mean, like you said, these people are athletes, and they said the only reason we're not wearing your shoes in the car is they're not fireproof.
that's it. And so I bought a pair of these right here of HFSs, my
Yep.
favorites. I've got at least a half a dozen pair of these things. And I bought my first pair and I came back in from going to the gym or going on a run and I hopped into the sim and completely by accident I realized that they were perfect because the fact that there's so little material, they're so flexible. Pull the insoles out and it's just this tiny little layer of rubber on top of the pedals. And it solves a couple of different challenges just immediately. I mean, it was one of those things that hit me like a lightning bolt because I tried racing barefoot, tried racing in socks, tried racing in shoes, and nothing works because any sort of shoe has so much material that whatever tactile feel that you get from these pedals, you lose because we don't have it's not the same fidelity you get in an actual race car. We've got purpose built pedals, but the feedback is limited. So anything we can do to maximize the feel that we get out of the pedal, the better. That's why most of us race barefoot or race in socks. But that doesn't give you the grip, the consistency that you need. So I'm hooking these things up and they stuck right to the pedals and I had all the same feel as if I were barefoot. And it was the best of both worlds. And it was immediate. So ever since then, I started just wearing your shoes in the sim, and then I decided to reach out to you, say, "Hey, I haven't found sim racing shoes. They don't really exist." And so, wouldn't it be neat to be able to put these out into the world and tell more people about the story?
And it's something that we're having more conversations about that. And I've talked about a driving shoe for a while. There's a couple of things that we would want to change to make that work. better. So you started with the HFS. That's the what we now call the HFS original. Where did you go from there? Did you pick up anything else?
I did. So there's a couple of different applications. The HFS, the original HFS, is great. I call it my sprint racing shoe. So if I have a short race or one that I've got to have a lot of footwork, it's my go-to because it has so little material. And my HFSs are so well broken in, they're like it's almost like an extension of my foot. So it's the least amount of material I have between my foot and the pedals. My new go-to though is the new Speed Force. Oh man,
Hmm.
the new Speed Force, Stephen, what a shoe! And it's actually so my new kind of campaign slogan is from the sim to the gym because these shoes work phenomenally in both places. And it was actually you're the one that turned me on to these a long time ago. And when you and I first started talking in a couple of months ago, you told me about the new ones. And man, these things they're incredible. And they're even lighter than the original HFS.
Yeah.
The sole is even thinner, but the back of the sole is such that it's shaped more like a traditional driving shoe. So just the shoe architecture and the architecture of the sole likens itself more to a driving shoe. And there's even less material in the upper, so it breathes just phenomenally. And then in the gym, the platform I get in the gym off these things is something really special. So I wear them all the time.
The original version of that I co-developed originally with a guy who was at Nike for 30 years and researched ways that people made shoes where they had no technology or whether it's because of unavailability or that they were 400 years ago. And the original version, you could sew it together with four pieces of fabric. And frankly, it was never quite the way I originally designed it. I could never get the factory to do it right. But then we commercialized it, made it pretty good. And then we also knew that that original design, people either loved it or hated it. But we always try to make it so that there's not a reason to not buy something and then redesigned it with the new upper, which is even lighter and it's a whole other thing. There's some people who still love the original. I like it too. I wear them both. But yeah, this is the shoe that as a sprinter I race and compete and train in. So in the gym I wear it because it's like nothing. It's flat, not messing with my posture, lets my toes really work. We've had a number of powerlifters who swear by that shoe as well. Actually, all of them. But that one, because it's the closest thing to, like you said, closest thing to barefoot, lets your toes actually work. Most people don't know that especially for heavy lifting and for professional lifting, like powerlifting, bench pressing starts with your feet.
Oh yeah.
And there's that. And you've said to me when we were talking privately, you had a line that was similar about driving with your feet.
Oh, absolutely. You drive a race car with your feet too. The brake pedal. It's the old one of the first questions a race car driver will ask is, "What's a brake pedal for?" And people say it's to stop the car. So it's not. It's to turn the car. Brake pedal is to
Ah,
turn the car. So it's all you drive the car with your feet as much as you do the steering wheel. In fact, you want to drive the car with your feet because if any input I'm putting into the steering wheel is wearing out the tires, which is going to take good shape time off my lap. So if I can drive the car with my feet, I don't have to use the steering wheel as much and I save my tires. So driving
ah.
with your feet, absolutely. Every professional race car driver will tell you that.
That's very interesting. Well, one thing I know about performance driving, and I know this only because I've had a number of delightfully fast cars. I like things. I don't speed, but I accelerate. That's what I like doing. So my last car, I sold it to get what I'm driving now. It was a Subaru BRZ that I put a supercharger in because,
Nice.
of
Classic.
course. And so in researching that, and I've driven a couple, I mean, I actually drove a Lotus Emira recently, which was very much fun. And so one of the techniques for effective driving for people who don't know is referred to as heel toe for shifting. And can you describe that and talk to me? I'm just very curious about what your experience is doing heel toe shifting when you're got a shoe that's wider or foot shaped rather than something that's squeezing your toes together.
I can't heel toe in any other shoe. There's just, I mean, I wear size 15 shoes. I'm 6'4", so there's a lot of me to go around anyway. And the pedal box of a sim racing it's just thinner. It's
Yeah.
designed for an office, not a race car. So there's
Well, do
just
you want to describe how heel toe works for people so they understand
sure, yeah, absolutely. So whenever you're operating three pedals, so if you have a clutch and the brake and the gas, whenever you are downshifting, you actually want to blip the throttle to bump the revs up so that the gears engage more cleanly. Well, you might be on the brakes when you do that, and so the effect is you either press the brake with your right foot and heel the gas, and then move your left foot to the clutch, and so your heel in the gas, toe in the brake, or vice versa. If you're a left foot braker, you heel the clutch and put your foot on the brake and heel toe the brakes. So it depends on
Mm.
the technique. It depends on whether or not you're a left foot braker or a right foot braker. The classic technique is the right foot. So your right foot goes on the brake, your left foot goes on the clutch, and your right foot operates the gas with the heel and the brake with your toe. You'll see Ayrton Senna videos. You'll see some
Yeah.
classic Ricky Rudd stock car videos doing that. That is for me impossible in shoes. Just can't do it. In these shoes, I can. It's still a challenge. It's still very much a discipline. And
Yeah.
fortunately, most of the cars I run now are paddle shifters, so I don't have to do that as much anymore.
Yeah, that's really interesting, actually. I mean, because yeah, paddle shifting, it's just so fast.
Faster, especially now.
Oh my God. I went and just for the fun of it, you'll get a kick out of this. I don't know if I told you this. Last week, I did something that was really stupid. After watching a bunch of YouTube videos where YouTube just like showed me this one video and then I watched a bunch, I went and drove the car from the videos that I'd seen.
That's
The car,
dangerous.
the car, it was very dangerous. It was a Mercedes AMG GT63. I think it's the
Oh,
new one, the SE.
extremely
It,
dangerous.
it's a $225,000 car. I
Still.
do not have $225,000. My last car net was 15,000. The one before that net was 15,000. The one before that net was 15,000. Get the hint? And net is, bought the car, sold what I had before. But oh my God. I mean, the thing shifts so fast, you don't even realize it's happening practically, except you just get plastered to the back of your seat again and again and again. And it ruined me. I mean, it really
Oh,
ruined me.
completely.
Yeah.
Takes the drama right out of it. That's actually when driving cars like that. I mean, those cars came from race cars.
Yeah.
They're
All,
effectively
all the
they're
AMGs are
all
part of the
they're
racing
yeah,
system.
they're race cars. And so to see how technology has advanced over the years, even over the last 10 or 15 years, to be able to go out and drive something like that and just see how phenomenally fast and how the brakes and how everything works, and knowing it's racing that pushes that along. That's one of the reasons why I love it.
I have to tell you, one of my favorite things in that car has nothing to do with racing. I mean, it does a little bit, but it's more effective when you're parking. It has rear wheel steering. So if you're turning to the left, the rear wheels turn to the right.
Yeah.
And the way they told me about it, we pulled into the dealership to drop the car off after I was just giddy. And we pull up, we're like driving up between a row of cars, and he wanted me to turn left. And it was like barely a car width to turn into. I said, I'm going to have to do a 10-point turn. He goes, yeah, just try it. And the car just like, it was as if it was on a turntable. It's like rotated in, and it
Wow.
was really cool.
Technology, man.
And that is the geekiest thing that I can possibly say. No, no, no,
That's the
wait,
thing
here,
that
no,
you like the most about it.
actually, wait, here's the geekiest thing. The geekiest thing is that car is super, super low. And so if you're going either over a speed bump or the opposite of a speed bump, which we have in our neighborhood for dealing with water, or even the curb in front of our driveway, it's almost impossible to not, crunch the front end. The car, you can raise the front end. This is not the geeky part's coming. You can raise the front end a few inches so that you don't, bottom out the car. The geeky part is when you do it in this car, it remembers where you are with GPS. And when you get close to that location in GPS, it automatically raises the car for you.
Wow, that's bonkers. Just when you
I think
thought
that's $25,000 of the
at least, yeah, at
$225,000. Yeah.
least.
Holy moly, what a trip. So you mentioned sim to the gym. Talk to me just, how many sim racers are really treating it, as serious as real racers and going to the gym. And just for the fun of it, you alluded to it, but say some more about your experience in the gym with zero shoes.
So I have been wearing zeros in the gym since the very beginning. That was actually going all the way back to the original HFS. I think one of the downsides of, I think, just gamers in general, anybody in that genre, is we're inside. And it's
Yeah.
set, we're sitting down. Like, even if we're working a steering wheel, we're still sitting down. So it's still
Yeah.
sedentary. And so there is a tendency, towards inaction, towards leading that sedentary lifestyle, snacking too much, etc. So I'm in my 50s, and I'm trying to stay healthy, trying to stay young for my wife and for my kids. And fitness is just part of it, and it becomes more of a part of it, as you know, the older we get. So I've tried to incorporate that as much as I can into my lifestyle. And so these shoes are they're the perfect complement, because they do go from the sim to the gym. I don't even have to change shoes. And so that's kind of where that came from, is this idea that, hey, we know that as a genre that we're sitting in the dark.
Yeah.
Let's go outside. Let's go to the gym. Let's make sure we're staying active to keep ourselves healthy at the same time. So that's where that came from. But my experience in the gym, so I was a competitive baseball player. I'm in my late 30s, early 40s, and I trained with a guy in a private gym. We trained barefoot. It's the first time I ever
Mm.
trained barefoot. We did sprinting exercises, we did all the weightlifting, everything was barefoot. And I'd never done it before and had no idea. So that was actually when I started, that's when that's when I got my first pair of zeros. I said, like, I want to replicate that feel in real life as much as I could. But it was a whole new world opened up when I started doing
Did you know? I mean, had you had any? I'm poisoning the well by asking the question this way.
that.
But did you either A, have any issues, any, joint whatever things
Oh,
that
you bet it.
changed, or did you notice any change in performance once you were actually using your feet? I mean, like, I'm going to preface this with John Wadley, one of our VP of product development. has a great line. He goes, people go to the gym, they work on everything from the ankles up, and they ignore the part below the ankles that supports everything from the ankles up. And we just see, we've been a sponsor at Lifetime Fitness. We just see with the trainers and the members who are wearing our shoes, it's been really fun. Like I helped lead a class. We led the class and then we put Jira shoes on their feet and we did a few more things again. And people were like, I just set a personal best.
Yeah. For me, I was a catcher. And so wear and tear on your legs as a catcher is just, it's one of the things you have to manage constantly. I was really fortunate, so I didn't have too much of an injury history, but I developed shin splints and bad hamstring. My hamstrings were just notorious. I was continuously managing that. When I started training barefoot, that went away. Like once I
Wow.
got, it was like you talk about in all your videos. It was I had to learn how to walk again. I had to learn how to run again. I had to relearn biomechanics doing it
Yeah.
barefoot.
Yeah.
And that proper biomechanical feel was what I was trying to replicate with all these shoes that I was trying. But it was that, and once I started, and now this was, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, but I don't have low back problems. I don't have hamstring problems, and I don't get shin splints anymore. And so I
Right.
100% attribute it to the type of training that I do, but also the shoes that I wear.
Well, and I mean, you said it, and I'm going to reiterate it. It's about form, not footwear. It's just certain footwear gets in the way of good form, and other footwear can support that. So we're just not getting in the way is really where it goes. Okay, let's get to the fun part. So describe what a sim racing rig is like and the range of costs that one can incur. Uh,
Well, it's just like a real car. I mean, you can bolt a $500 steering wheel to your laptop and try it that way. And then many people get their start that way, or you can actually get
oh no,
kind of,
wait, you got to unfuzz your background.
oh, let me do that real quick.
Yeah,
Hold on a second.
defuzzify yourself. This is going to be very interesting. Now you're still fuzzy. Now you're still fuzzy. Do, 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 do. Here, I'll do the Jeopardy theme
There we
song. Oh,
go.
oh, wait, are you? No,
I'm
you're
getting
still
there.
fuzzy.
I'm getting there. Getting there.
Okay, all right, okay. Stay on target.
There we
There we
go.
go. Okay, show me what you got.
Got it. Okay. So this is a full on. It doesn't have motion, but it
Okay.
does have
Wait,
a.
wait, wait. Doesn't have what about, all right,
So some
we'll come back to motion because what? But all right, keep going.
but I have a 49-inch widescreen, and that widescreen is on a floating panel, so I can basically put it right next to my face. The wheel is a direct drive steering wheel, so it actually has just as much resistance as a regular race car does. You can see maybe the footwell down there. He's got the pedals down there too. So it's a fully functional, but I sit down in a racing seat. And,
Well, it also looked like you had a subwoofer behind there somewhere.
that's the PC.
Okay.
That's the computer that runs it. So I run through headphones, but I've got super high fidelity headphones for that application too. So mine is you can get all kinds of lights and bells and whistles and button boxes and all kinds of motion and all kinds of things, bass shakers. But I found that fidelity is about the wheel. And it's
Mm,
about the visuals. So the monitor, I've got a really high quality monitor and the pedals. And those three things, that's where I spent all my money and all my time is on those three things. And enhancing that fidelity has made all the difference in the world.
So if someone's going to get started, I mean, like low end, high end, what are we talking about?
So low end, say $1,000, high end, 3 to 5,000. So you could spend 10, 15, 20 if you wanted to. There's some seriously expensive rigs out there. So
Is this one of the sports where, for lack of a better term, some rich old white guys spend a lot of money even though they don't have the skill to use it?
somewhat. I found that if you can race, you can race, you can race. And I have raced against guys who are beating me with the lowest quality wheel that there is. They're just that skilled. They're few and
Yeah,
far between. For my own personal, I'm especially getting older. I don't have the fast twitch and the reaction time. So I've found that upgrading my equipment, especially the wheel, that made a huge difference in my ability to be
interesting.
successful.
That's very interesting. Yeah, that reaction time thing and that speed thing. Oh man, and I'm way older than you, so it's
The clock is undefeated,
you know,
man.
I'll tell you, I was at the first, I think it was the first time I was at the senior games when I just turned 50. And there was a bunch of 60-year-olds there who were saying, God, dude, just wait. When you turn 60, it falls off a cliff. And there happened to be a bunch of 80-year-olds standing behind them. And they walked up and said, guys, you have no idea what you're talking about.
There's always somebody older.
Well, and the All-American times, not only do they get slower with each new age group that I've been going in, but the amount of slower they gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
I just turned 55, and I feel I've been fortunate enough to feel pretty young and stay pretty young, but I'm feeling it. I feel like I have not felt this before in my life. I'm having to work harder, having to it's really having to manage it more than I ever did before.
The biggest thing that I've noticed, I mean, I'm turning 63 in a couple weeks, is that I've actually been lifting a lot just for the fun of saying it, for the last year, a little over a year, and I've got more muscle mass than I ever had in my life, and I'm lifting, but I'm not lifting as heavy as I used to. Sometimes, partly because I don't want to be an idiot because I got a screwed up spine, so I'm not doing heavy squatting, heavy deadlifting at all. But the biggest thing is the physical changes are very fun. I enjoy them thoroughly. But psychologically, it's difficult because I have to do way more recovery and rest. I can't get in as much volume. And the changes, either the amount of weight that I'm lifting or what's actually happening in my body, are so much slower. And frankly, partly I started doing this because I wanted to see how much bigger I could get before I inevitably got smaller. Because I remember seeing
That's
Jack LaLanne. I've talked about this a bunch of times. I remember seeing a video of Jack LaLanne. He's like 90, 92, and they're showing that he's still lifting. And he co-invented the Universal Gym, which I'm sure most people have never seen. It was one of the first like all-in-one
oh yeah,
things. And he's doing the bench press, and he's like, if you look carefully, he was lifting 20 pounds.
yeah.
But the guy's 90 something years old. And again, I know like if I can just live to 100, I can possibly break that record only in the 100 meters, only because there's probably nobody else who's going to be racing
That's
against me.
right.
There's just a bunch of that. So it is, yeah, it is a fascinating thing discovering how to adjust to some things. I mean, not everything's inevitable, but some of it is. I mean, I've definitely staved off quite a bit with what I've done. I'm sure you have as well, but not everything, man. I mean, I,
I think I've learned to adapt. I think one of the things, like you, I used to I would work out 3, 4 days a week maybe, and I would be sore all the time. But about a year ago, I started working out every single day. Now I work out every single day. Now I manage my workload, so I'm not in there throwing a bunch of weight, working out 2 hours. I have to be very cautious. But it's almost like I've trained my body to be ready to work. And so
yeah.
my body's producing the chemicals and the hormones that I need to always keep working because I never get sore.
Well,
I'm tired, but I
that
never get sore.
That's interesting. I mean, the workouts that I do, it's 3 times a week. It's legs is one day, and I always do that first because it's so unbearably difficult that if I did that anything other than first, I wouldn't
Never
want to
do
do it.
anything else.
Like yeah, after leg day, the other two workouts, which is back and shoulders and then chest, arms, abs. I look forward to the other ones. I mean, they're really hard. Like the trainer that I'm working with, I mean, I was on the floor gasping for air after working my biceps 2 days ago. So, because I mean, he just beats me up really good. But it took me, I said to him at one point, is the rest of my life where I'm going to have half a day where I'm not sore? Because my workouts are like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I don't even need to space them out because of the way they are. And he goes, yeah, pretty much. But it's not true. And I mean, in the last couple of months, I still get sore or I still feel the effect of the workout for a day and a half, but I'm not getting sore the way I used to. I'm definitely able to tolerate more. And I've been craving a little more volume,
Yeah, there
which he just tells me, no, you
you
need
go.
gotta rest. So it's a bit of a push me pull you. I've become more active on those non-workout days because I do have I've built up a little tolerance, which is very, very interesting. But at the same time, like last week, our leg day was an exercise I had not done, and we pushed it. He's pushing me really hard now, and we pushed it really hard. And it was 5 days till I could sit on a toilet without, having a hard time getting on and
I don't
off.
want to do that anymore. I don't want to do. I don't
Oh,
want
I
to be
see.
that.
I like it. I mean,
I don't mind hurting, but that's why because I'm working out every day, I can't do that type of workout. So I have to be,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and it's
yeah. Well,
actually as getting older and being not injury prone, but certainly being having to watch injuries and having to change the way that
right.
working out every day is it's like the perfect signal because you just listen to your body. And so I'd never done it before. And I think that for me, it's also habit maintenance. I'm better if I can do something every day.
I have a similar thing. Like if I'm doing something for 10 minutes every day, it's easier than doing that than doing 30 minutes 3 times a week or something like that. For whatever reason, the pushing hard thing I find very gratifying and satisfying. And he did give me a compliment. I mean, this guy, if you work with him, his name's Kevin Richardson. When the way you become a client of Kevin's is he'll give you a free workout, and if you like it, and he'll give you leg day. And if you and
Ultimate crucible.
Yeah, and if you come back after that and say, "Yeah, I want to pay you a not insignificant amount of money," you're an idiot. And
It's
so,
perfect
yeah,
client.
I know. I mean, that's how he weeds them out. And
Smart.
the thing he did say to me, he said, "Look, knowing that all of my clients, they push hard. Just that's what we all have in common. I have to tell you, you're the winner. You will push harder. Not that I'm not lifting more weight or whatever, but you will just keep going until you can't over and over." And I go, well, yeah, that's what you do, right? So
That's true in all areas of your life, Stephen, I would think.
If it's something that I'm really into, yeah, going pretty far for whatever that looks like. But the physical stuff it's a different thing. Like I don't know why I'm talking about this. My brain is goes very wide. I'm not good at prioritizing. I'm good at coming up with a whole lot of things. But when I do physical things, I need them to be short and intense. I'm a sprinter. When I lift, it's the same way. I mean that for it, and I'm very focused when I do that. My physical stuff is a whole different thing than my mental stuff. And I don't know if that's common or not, but it's just the way
That
it
makes
works.
sense for you as a sprinter because you have to be like that. Every little
Yeah.
motion matters. Thousands of
Oh,
seconds matter.
oh no, it's horrible because like at the end, well, because you can never do it right or you never do it perfect. Like at the end of every race, people go, "Hey, how'd you do?" And I've started answering, "Oh, can I just give you the time or can I give you the excuse and the time?" Because there's always an excuse. I mean, for all of us.
So
And
at least you're doing this in real life. It's like you have a race, you have a bad race, and like stages or whatever. I have a bad race in a pretend race car that doesn't even exist, and my day is ruined the next day. I spend the whole day muttering to myself about what I did wrong or whatever. It's insane.
well, the thing that's changed for me is that I know that things go wrong. And when they do, I really don't care so much anymore. I mean, like this indoor track season, I went to a race and I didn't get to race because, well, for the fun of it, you can look it up if you didn't hear about it on the news. A guy died, got
Oh,
hit. The hammer throw, it's a different thing. It's like the hammer throw is a weight at the end of a chain. The indoor, it's a weight with a handle. And it cleared the barrier and hit a guy and he died.
oh my goodness.
It was, I don't know who I felt worse for, the guy's family or the kid who threw the thing. And
Oh my
because
God.
holy moly. So I didn't get a race in. The next week I go to the CU Invitational. Warming up felt great. And I went, let's just come out of the blocks once before the race actually starts. And I set the blocks at a slightly different angle because I usually set mine at 45 degrees. They had either 40 or 50. I went to 50. So it's a steep, like more, there's more motion with 50 degrees than 40 degrees. And that little bit extra, that 5 degrees extra, was just enough of a stretch response that my calf went, whoa, whoa, whoa. And my calf seized up. And then I was done for the day. It didn't rip anything. It just like, I just wasn't used to that much stretch. And then I lost that day. And then the next week we had like a snowstorm. But my response now is kind of, oh, whatever. And I wasted a couple $100. And what am I going to do? So you have a good race, you have a bad race. Don't care so much.
Short memory. Short memory.
That could be. Well, I just lived through it. I mean, I've had enough times where I've gotten injured and gotten all upset, and then after a while, you just go. It's like when I was doing comedy. You have good sets, you have bad sets, and it takes a while. It takes quite a number of bad sets to know when it's you versus the audience. And once you know, sometimes it's just not a big deal. I had one show. We're going way off track. I did one show. It was a third show on a Saturday night, midnight show, and I'm supposed to do 45 minutes. And I get up there and I do my opening joke, which I don't remember what it was, but it's 100%, and it got nothing. And then I do another joke that I knew was like really strong and it got nothing. Then I do the bit that I close with, which is like, a standing ovation, walk off, like kind of thing. Nothing. And I just looked at the audience and, well, that's the funniest shit that I got. Good night. And I walked off the stage. And the club owner was on the floor laughing because he's seen it happen to everybody, and just so,
That's
it's like just
great.
that you roll with it. You learn to roll with it. That said, there was one time where I was actually being featured on a television show and they taped me at Catch a Rising Star one night in New York and I crushed it. And the next night at a club in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and I couldn't buy a laugh. And my girlfriend at the time, she's now famous and her father managed famous comedians. And afterwards, I was very unhappy. And she said, "Is there anything I could do?" I said, "Find me some chocolate cake and I'll see you in the bedroom." And she goes, "I can do both of those." And it worked out okay. So yeah, but it is interesting, for being there. I guess the real thing that I'm talking about is, especially as we get older, finding the right way to handle having a competitive urge and what it means about winning and losing and training and actually competing and knowing there's that intermittent reinforcement of sometimes it's better than others and that's what gets you coming back, or sometimes it's worse and that's what gets you coming back. And it's a fascinating psychological thing to explore. And so that's really the theme of our last 10 minutes for anyone who is approaching any age, really, but certainly especially at this one, which is the time when people our age are prone to buying $225,000 cars and doing stupid things. So you just found a way to channel that in a way that is quite brilliant.
That's one of the reasons why I love it so much. Is that it's enough of an escape to allow me to do something that I love to do without the risk and without the time away from my family. And so, fills me up in the ways that I need it to. But like you said, I'm older. I don't have the money or the time or the health to go out and run a fast car around a real racetrack. So I do it here, and I can express my love for the sport, grow my love for the sport, teach it, follow it in different ways, but do it from home.
Speaking of following, can people like watch races that you guys are in?
So our hourly broadcasts, our Sunday night races are broadcast on YouTube. And so there's actually a live broadcast team that calls the race as it's going down. And so that it's just our league race is 4 nights a week, but that race is the only night that's televised.
Well, that's the perfect segue to if people want to find out more about sim racing or they want to watch what you're doing or just get in touch with you to find out more, how can they and should they do that?
Yeah, there's two ways. The best way is either on Facebook. And so Top Flight Sim Racing on Facebook,
Say it again, slow down.
Top Flight Sim Racing. So all
Got
one
it.
word. We're the same on LinkedIn. So I have the profiles on both of those places. That's probably the best way to get a hold of me.
And then from there, if they want to watch a race, which I imagine could be very, very interesting, how do they do that?
So that's your best bet's to go to YouTube and just go to iRacing, go to iRacing's main channel. They have really high fidelity broadcasts there. And then our league is called the OBRL. So if you go search for the OBRL on YouTube, you'll find our channel and you'll find all of our broadcast races there as well.
Oh, I love it. That's definitely on my to-do list now. Well, Brian, thank you so much. This has been an absolute pleasure, and I hope that really it just kind of not only inspires people to check out, sim racing, which is fascinating, but just the idea of different things that you might be finding that you can do in a pair of zero shoes. It's a bit of self something or self-serving to say that, but I mean, I say it because I don't think that people need to wear zero shoes for everything they do. There's a time and a place. But what I found from talking to people like you or people who are into dance revolution or, all these things that people contact me about where they're going, your shoes are perfect for, and they didn't know and they found out, it's like experiment and see. Because what I'm hoping is people can send some video or reach out and go, hey, here's this crazy thing that I'm doing that you're not going to believe is zero shoes are perfect for. And to have those conversations, because that's my favorite thing is discovering all the off-label stuff that people do that where we can be helpful. So anyway,
It
so
was like
thank you.
striking gold. It was like striking gold when it happens like that. And now to be able to share that with other people so that other people can too. I'm really happy to be able to do that.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to have your support. So for everybody else, just a reminder, head over to www.jointhemovement.com. Find previous episodes of where you can find us on social, where you can reach out to contact us if you have any recommendations, suggestions, people that you think should be on the show, especially if you know anyone who's willing to be on the show who thinks I have a case of cranial rectal reorientation syndrome. I would love to have a chat with them and find out things that I may be wrong about. I'm game. And again, give us a good review somewhere where you can give reviews or a thumbs up where you do thumbs up or hit the bell icon and subscribe. If you want to be part of the tribe, just subscribe. That's the way it goes. But most importantly, whatever you're doing, go out, have fun, and live life feet first.